Good evening, everybody. Thank you so much to each and every one of you for coming here today to this Think Network, Think Resilience 2020 event. Again, thank you to Gary for the lovely and warm introduction. And I'd like to thank everybody who's watching on clive.com as well in our live stream. I've spoken to groups and in schools all around the country, Europe, soon to be the States, and hopefully the rest of the world. And nothing generates more nerves, excitement and pride than speaking to your home crowd. And I have to say thank you to the Everglades as well for putting this event on. So as I've got either the blessing or the poison chalice of going first, I'd like to kind of set the tone. Resilience, what's that? I mean, resilience is all about overcoming adversity or hardship and living to tell the tale. And for me, resilience stories all have the same kind of four ingredients. Mine's nothing really different. The first one is difficult circumstances, overcoming these difficult circumstances, reflecting on both of the above, and using your own resilience to help others. And it wouldn't be a Jude Morrow talk if I didn't really break the mold. I know uplifting resilience events are normally based on the last two, but really, I want to focus on the first two. So, again, with a roller coaster theme of Jude Morrow's talks, I'd like to start with a wee bit of a cuteness overload. Who's that lovely wee boy there? And in case nobody has guessed, that's me. That's me at age 3 and me aged 11. And on face value, I look like a pretty happy wee boy. I look pretty pleased. I look like, you know, I have the whole world in front of me with a whole happy life left to live. The pictures do tell a story that perhaps real life doesn't always. Whenever I was young, I had severe communication difficulties. I just couldn't mix with other children my age, and nobody could really understand why. I mean, awareness and acceptance is pretty prevalent and pretty common now, but it perhaps wasn't so back then. And whenever I was young, I went to various play groups, some of which couldn't meet my needs, because there just wasn't the training, acceptance and awareness as there is now. And there is a bit of a shock factor in the next slide. Whenever I embarked on this journey, I actually discovered my own medical records, and I took a photograph of a letter that's dated May 1995. This would have been just shortly after this, whenever I was having an assessment to attend mainstream school. And I'm going to read it out for people who can't see it. It says, "This little boy presents with aggressive features and difficulties with other children his age. Given the collateral history gained from the boy's mother," and by the way, in 1995, I didn't have a name, I was the boy, and my soulmate mummy, who's here in the front row, is the boy's mother, "and her daily management struggles, it would indicate that some autistic retardation is evident." That's 1995. I bet some people here have garments in their wardrobe from 1995. That is not a long time ago. That's not a long time ago. Only 25 years ago. Despite this, the boy displays awareness of his surroundings, basic literacy and numeracy, typical of a child his age. There are some verbal sequencing issues that will hopefully resolve with their support outside of a special education school. So I did. I went to mainstream schools. My IQ was measured at higher than average, and I had a classroom assistant from when I was 5 right the way up until I was 16. And my mummy always asked the kind of question, you know, what's going to happen with Jude whenever he turns 18? I couldn't really socialise very well. I couldn't mix with other children. It just wasn't me. I couldn't do it. I just had all these struggles in school. So ultimately, was I kind of resilient? No, I wasn't really. I didn't have a real kind of light bulb moment. Back to the question that my mummy asked, what happens whenever Jude becomes 18? I mean, given all the kind of social difficulties that I had, I mean, I was quite academic. I did okay at school. Like, I wasn't straight A's all the time. I wanted to go to university, and again, staying with the theme of having extreme social difficulties, I decided to become a social worker, of all things, which is what I do now, what I've been doing for the last 8 years. And if anyone's watching on the live stream, thanks very much to the Western Health and Social Care Trust for giving me the half day to come and prepare for this tonight. So I just had to say that. I needed to remember to get it in. I mean, many resilience stories have like a moment of clarity or a road to Damascus experience, but I didn't. I was kind of dragged through everything, kicking and screaming by my mummy and by therapists, people that helped me along the way, should I say. And I was encouraged gently and not so gently by my family to accept that I was autistic, and that'll never ever change. Another great moment for me was on the 23rd of July 2013, I became a dad. My son, Ethan, he's now 6, and he is my absolute hero. We all know from being parents, and autism kind of really has nothing to do with this, that babies don't exactly run like clockwork, do they? They eat different things, they wake up at different times, they need their nappies changed at different times. And whenever I kind of graduated from school and became a social worker, I thought that autism was something that I left behind. I thought that's something that only affects kids, and I had grown out of it. I mean, I have a mortgage, a car, I have everything I could possibly want, plenty of financial freedom, and a good positive career in my own right. But that wasn't the case. And one day, after all the struggles were so apparent, my mommy was babysitting Ethan for me one night. And she told me that Ethan had asked her a question. And this was it. Why does Daddy always look so sad? Because I just couldn't cope. I couldn't get it under my head. Why is Ethan eating different things? Why is he not doing basically what I want him to do? Why am I feeling so uncomfortable? And at that stage, I knew that I had to change. I knew I had to go on a journey of my own. If things kept going the way they were going, I wouldn't really have the relationship with my son that I do have now. I went through therapies and supports. I mean, I didn't decide myself one day, I need to do all this. This kind of prompted everything. And I wrote about all my experiences in that book, which has a mini resilience story in its own right. Whenever I wrote that book, I wanted to get it published. Who writes a book and doesn't want to get it published? I wanted to get it published, and no publisher wanted it. Sure, autism stories are dime a dozen. There's too many. I mean, what power does this have? And then, whenever it came out, that just seemed to take off to a level that I couldn't ever have predicted. It reached the top of some Amazon bestsellers charts. And I've been taken on by a publisher now, which is Beyond Words Publishing, the same publisher that published Rhonda Byrne's book, The Secret. And I even got a foreword done by none other than Dr. Bernie Siegel. So that was, again, quite a surreal moment. And I mean, getting all of that and getting the book out there and getting to a level where I have a worldwide kind of speaking to her and speaking in front of you tonight, it's something that just hasn't really gone well in my mind just yet. So I wanted to give kind of a balanced and logical view. Like, I'm resilient, but I never should have had to be. I was the child that no teacher wanted to teach. I was never invited to any birthday party from when I was maybe 5 onwards. And that's because nobody really understood me. I mean, was I resilient? Yes, but I should never have had to have been. People should have understood me. My teachers should have spent a bit more time getting to know me. Did I have teachers who were wonderful and very understanding? Yes, but on the other side of it, I didn't. So that's kind of left me being one of two ways, depending on what your perspective is. Either a resilient and proud person or a very bitter man. So whichever way it is, that's certainly one of the two. I should never have went through what I went through. I mean, time's not really an excuse for my marginalisation. And I have had this, people saying, but that was 25 years ago, you know, get over it. I mean, that shouldn't apply to me as much as it should anybody else who went through any sort of ordeal, no matter how long ago it was. I mean, there are positives too. I reflect upon my childhood quite fondly. I had the best and most loving parents anybody could ever have asked for, and my sister as well. The best group of friends. Everybody has helped me. I have so many positive things in my life, and I wanted to write that all down just to show that autistic people can grow up to live happy and successful lives. I mean, have I cured myself of autism? Absolutely not. Am I as autistic now as I was whenever I was 5? Yes, I am. And I still do have my struggles. I mean, it might be hard to think, you know, you're standing on the stage, what difficulties do you have? I mean, I rehearsed this talk 16 times last night, and I'm running to the second. I don't expect that at all. No, thanks very much. I'm 7 seconds out. Thank you. So I'm glad I actually got that part written down. And as far as other struggles, I mean, my beautiful and loving and understanding girlfriend, Penny, who can't be here tonight, unfortunately, I don't know whether it's just my character or the autism, I am still quite direct. If she says, does my bum look big in this dress, Jude? I would say, it does. Because I know there's kind of a standard pre-programmed answer, but, you know, it just comes out. There's no filter. But I'm proud of that. I mean, if you think about it, this is the perspective that I've gained, is that autistic people, like me, and like many others, have been the leaders in the human race. Just a couple off the top of my head are Mozart and Michelangelo, who have been shown, they have demonstrated traits in their personal writings of certainly having had a certain type of autism. Imagine their passions weren't nurtured. Could you imagine somebody saying to 12-year-old Michelangelo, put those paintbrushes down, what are you worrying about all that painting for? And that's what I worry about autistic children in our schools now. But I would say that anybody here who works in any form of education, nurture the talents of autistic children. You don't know who you have in your classroom. You can have an Einstein, a Stanley Kubrick, a Mozart, or a Michelangelo. You don't know who you have in that classroom. Unfortunately, statistics, results, and performance is a big thing in education these days, and it's so sad for me because schools just sadly are not judged on the individual relationships they build with each and every child in their care. I mean, what would our world be like if there was no autism, or autism didn't exist? I know autism is a reasonably newfangled term. I mean, it was only coined properly for the first time in 1943, but like Everest was only charted for the first time in 1846. But let me tell you now, it was always there. The same way autism was always there. So it's not just a new thing. I mean, for me, I would say it was the autistic Neanderthal that created fire. It was the autistic architect that designed the Great Pyramid of Giza, and not they sounded in any way supremacist. But I imagine without autism, I would say the human race would probably still be living in caves and spearing fish. So that is my honest, heartfelt kind of opinion on that. So that's really my part in the message. My journey's not necessarily over. I know it's not. I have a long way to go. I'm constantly learning and growing, and I want all of you to join me on that journey on my Jude Morrow author Facebook page, or even, you know what, reach out. I love chatting to people. I love getting to know people, and I've been around various schools and groups, and I love meeting as many people as I can. But the reason being is that I like meeting other people like me. It's a nice feeling to know that I'm not alone in the world. So I want to say again, thank you so much to everybody for listening to me, and I hope you enjoy the rest of the speakers in the evening. Thank you very much.